All last week we were talking about China, the trade war. We did a lot of this on Friday with Congressman Rick Crawford, who was with us. Also, how that relates to Hong Kong. And we finally have a few headlines here. Here's one. Trump ties trade deal to China action in Hong Kong, suggests meeting. This is exactly what I was saying last week when we had all of those articles saying that Trump was bluffing. Trump, didn't have the guts to go through with, putting the tariffs on, and the media was just very lazy. I felt like it's like these two things, the Hong Kong situation and the tariffs, are not mutually exclusive because the president seems to look at things in the totality of trying to get what he wants. Here to talk more about this, we've got the author of Middle Class Millionaire: Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. Clark Kendall is with us, and you can get the book at Amazon.com. Clark, how are you, sir?
Great. It's an honor to be on your show this morning, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So, what do you think about everything that's going on? With the president last week and trade, also with Hong Kong, they're waving the American flag. They want their freedom.
Yes, I agree. Well, first of all, I agree wholeheartedly with Larry Kudlow. It is the best for everybody worldwide to specialize and not to have trade tariffs. But when China is stealing our intellectual property time and time again, you got to throw up the flag and say, you got to go to war. We are at a trade war. I share with people, one of my clients owns a company that manufactures and distributes and sells camera stands. And he has a domestic patent on it, and he has an international patent. But time and time again, he's competing against knockoffs coming out of China. And there's really nothing he can do to fight these knockoffs. And the fact of the matter is, he manufactures this product here in the United States. It's hurting U.S. workers here in the United States. I did have the opportunity to go to Hong Kong 2 years ago when I attended the CFA conference in Hong Kong, and I had probably 5 years ago I had been to China, and there is a world of difference between Hong Kong and China. Hong Kong is a very well-educated community. When I went out and met the people, they were very versed as far as what was going on in the world. All the streets in Hong Kong, because of the British, are in English. The kids are taught English in school. So it is a completely different culture, and I completely understand why the Hong Kong residents are protesting what's going on in their community, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, it seems that they're already accustomed to a certain level of freedom, of basic human rights, and I think they're very worried. And if you're somebody like Beijing that is in a trade, or China, mainland China, and you're in this trade war with the United States, and they look and they see these protests and they see them waving the American flag, this is a powder keg, isn't it?
It is. It's very much so, very much so. And everyone said, I'm going to put these trade tariffs. Trump said, I'm going to put these trade tariffs against China, and they're going to pay for it. And the fact that they've actually devalued their yuan, the fact we put a 10 or 15% tariff, when they devalue their yuan 10 or 15%, that in essence offsets the trade barrier. I think we're at war, and my parents, my grandparents, went to war and they fought, and we had to tighten the belts back here in the United States. We're not going into a physical war with China. We're going into a trade war, and probably at worst we're going to have a rise in inflation, maybe 1 or 2%. So when we go to Walmart or Target, things are going to cost a little bit more because of the things we import from China. But, I think it's a small cost to pay to stand up to China. I also attended the CFA conference this year in London, which is a group of portfolio managers from throughout the world, 65 different countries. And time, when they heard I was from Washington, D.C., they said, thank God Trump is standing up to China, because China's been bullying us. been bullying the United States, and thank God that Trump is doing this, not only for the country, but also for the world.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So do you think that the president not instituting those tariffs is his attempt to maybe have a meeting with President? How do you say that? How do you say his name, Joe? Is it Z Chi? I can never remember, Clark. But do you think he's wanting to? You think he's wanting to set up a meeting? You think he did not institute the new tariffs because of Hong Kong? Is that what you believe?
I think it's politics, and what goes behind the scenes, I really don't know. And it seems like to me he's pushing on the gas sometimes, and he's pushing on the brakes at other times. But it's a Indy 500 race, and I think he's going around the track as fast as he can, and so I think you and I and the general public just don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. I think he's trying to get them to come back to the table, one way or another, and they need to come back to the table, probably even more so than we need to come back to the table with them.
Yeah, and this is what I'm wondering, because I guess probably 2-3 weeks ago you started to see the headlines that said, China's done. They're not going to negotiate anymore on trade. They're just going to hope that Donald Trump loses, and they're going to do everything they can to help the Democrats, and, they want to work with another administration. That's a pretty big gamble for them, though, because if the president pulls out a victory, that's going to be even worse for China, you would imagine. And can they wait until, 2021, January 2021, to do things differently? I mean, that's another question. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think China will come back before the 2020 elections and actually get a trade deal with the United States?
Well, their economy is slowing down much more. On the opposite side of the coin, our economy is very strong, and I think, I think a waiting game hurts them more so than hurts the United States. And to be quite frank with you, the day before President Trump was elected, I would have put my money that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And so I think to predict that far out is crazy. So I think, as I said, I think time is in our favor versus their favor, whoever takes political office next.
So can I ask you a personal question? You say you're in Washington, D.C., and you support the president. What does that town feel like? I'm sure you have people around you that that also support the president, but I would imagine that the town, the swamp, if you will, they don't take too kindly to the president and some of his policies.
I think quite frankly, the business leaders in general, they appreciate kind of what he's doing on a macro basis. I think, a lot of people get very frustrated with the tweets, commenting, who won the Kentucky Derby or not won the Kentucky Derby. I think that's frustrating. I think that's frustrating for the country moving forward. But when you look at kind of these strategic, economic initiatives, I think in general, at the end of the day, people kind of appreciate what he's doing. And it's when you have a discussion about that, more people will agree with you than disagree with you.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I think, of course, a lot of Americans, especially in flyover country, I think a lot of them love the tweets in terms of they just love the access that Twitter provides. Here's a way for the president to communicate directly. Yeah, he gets in trouble when he tweets. I kind of have this opinion of the president that is the way he is publicly, it comes across as honest, versus for years we get politicians that put forth a theatrical presence to the public, but behind closed doors they're really somebody different. I'm not saying that doesn't happen with the president, but I think more often than not you're actually getting his honest opinion and the way he really is, and I think people they kind of feel that that's more genuine than what they've been getting, for their entire lives in American politics.
I won't disagree with you there. I agree with you.
Hey, well, tell us real quick about your book, Middle Class Millionaire: Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. Remind us again why you wanted to write this book.
Well, I've been in the investment management business for 30 years. I focus on what I call middle class millionaires, people, $500,000 to $10 million of investable assets. It's a how-to book. The first third is how to accumulate. The middle third is, I'm 50 something. How much do I need to retire? How do I calculate that? And the last is, I've retired. What money do I spend? But throughout the book, I call them experience share stories. I share things about the 90-year-old woman who had $6 million. We were 90% in stocks, and I said to her, don't you think, we have too much in stocks? And she goes, Sonny, I'll never be able to spend $6 million. You're really investing this money for my children and grandchildren, and I think they should be invested in stocks. And I was like, so I go through several of those kind of experience share stories throughout the book, and it's a good, easy read, 3 or 4 hours to read, and I think it hopefully gives individuals that they too can be a middle class millionaires, because quite frankly, that's what makes America great. Anybody, through hard work and discipline, can become financially, secure and strong for the rest of their lives.
Wow. I appreciate it, Clark Kendall. Best of luck to you, sir. I'd like to have you on again sometime.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor, Paul.
Absolutely. Thank you. Clark Kendall, everybody. Again, Middle Class Millionaire: Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. You can get it at Amazon.